The Vortis vessel hovered over the Kuiper belt, its sensors detecting something that shouldn't exist. Mil-Lai adjusted her protective eyewear as she analyzed the data on the monitor. An invisible gravitational anomaly, unseen by conventional telescopes, pulsed like a slow heart. Valim, the systems engineer, scratched his head in suspicion. This wasn't a planet, nor an asteroid. Commander Sora ordered a closer approach, her voice calm in stark contrast to the tremor in her hands. As they entered the object's orbit, bluish lights danced in the darkness, forming patterns resembling circuits. Mil-Lai felt a shiver. There was something familiar about those curves, as if echoing ancient designs seen in dreams. Inside the decompression chamber, the air grew thick. Valim checked his suit for the third time, muttering about outdated protocols. Sora held his shoulder. No one had ever been here. We don't know what to breathe. Outside, the surface was smooth, almost organic, like a giant shell buried beneath layers of ice. Mil-Lai touched the wall with her glove, and luminous cracks spread, revealing hieroglyphs that flickered in sync with the anomaly's rhythm. Valim filmed everything, but the images came out distorted, as if light didn't want to be captured. Hours passed as they watched the symbols shift, telling a story none of them understood. Back on the Vortis, Mil-Lai dreamt of a submerged city. She awoke drenched in sweat, her ears ringing. The central computer displayed a partially deciphered message: that which is found must not be named. Valim discovered the anomaly emitted frequencies identical to those of ancient, abandoned Earth satellites. Sora, in silence, adjusted the Vortis course towards a forbidden region of space, where official maps showed only emptiness. 2 days later, they intercepted a faint signal, repeating numbers in Morse code. It was a countdown. In the command room, fear hung like a veil. Mil-Lai deciphered the numbers, coordinates within the solar system, but at a point where no planet should exist. Valim suggested ignoring it, citing regulations, but Sora already activated the engines. Upon arrival, they saw a perfect sphere hidden behind a dead moon. Its surface reflected the stars in a distorted manner, like a shattered mirror. As they approached, the ship's systems failed. Red lights flashed, and a synthesized voice echoed, "Welcome to the archive." Inside the sphere, there was no gravity. Endless corridors of dark metal stretched in every direction, each wall covered in what they now understood to be memories. Scenes of dead civilizations, forgotten wars, loves that never existed. Valim touched a wall, and his mind was flooded with voices whispering in dead languages. Mil-Lai ran, but Sora held her. "It's not safe." But it was too late. The floor vanished, and they found themselves in a circular room where a hologram displayed Earth at different eras. A shadowy figure emerged, faceless, only hands outstretched, offering a black object. "The price of truth," the voice said, and Mil-Lai knew, without knowing how, that accepting it would mean never seeing home again. Valim recoiled, but Sora stepped forward. The artifact floated towards her, and the entire world stopped. Mil-Lai saw her own reflection in the metal, but it wasn't her. It was an older version, with scars on her face and empty eyes. The shadowy figure whispered, "You always return." The Vortis vanished from official records that night. Officially, it never existed. The object emitted a low hum, and Sora fell to her knees, clutching her head. Mil-Lai tried to help, but the commander pushed her away with a harsh gesture. "No, don't touch me." Her pupils dilated, reflecting scenes only she could see. Valim, pale, pointed to the corridor behind them. "The walls, they're moving." Indeed, the metallic panels contracted and expanded, like lungs, exhaling a metallic smell reminiscent of old blood. Mil-Lai activated the ship's communicator, but the only response was static forming rhythmic patterns. Back on the Vortis, the air was denser, as if the ship breathed in sync with the object. Valim searched the ship's logs and found corrupted data. All references to the mission had been erased. "It's as if we never left," he murmured as Sora, now calm, observed the artifact on the bridge table. "It wants something," she said, her voice distant. "We are not the first." Mil-Lai noticed the commander's hands trembled, but not with fear, but anticipation. On the third day, the Earth hologram reappeared in the command room, showing unknown continents and cities in spiral shapes. The shadowy figure emerged again, this time with more defined features. Silver hair, eyes like black holes. "You seek answers," it said, "but you are not prepared for the questions." Valim, desperate, cried out, "Who the hell are you?" The answer came in a dead language, automatically translated by the computer: the archivists. Guardians of what remains. Mil-Lai began dreaming of the shadowy figure every night. In each vision, it presented her with a different object: a rusted key, a broken clock, a mirror with no reflection. She awoke with words in her native tongue she didn't recognize. Sora began avoiding the crew, spending hours in the engine room, where the artifact now floated, radiating heat. When Valim confronted her, she showed a hand-drawn star chart with coordinates that matched nothing known. "This is where we go," she said, pointing to a blank spot. "This is where it all ends." The next week, the Vortis navigation systems began to fail. The warp drive activated on its own, taking them to a remote sector near Neptune. There, they found an abandoned ship, identical to the Vortis, but corroded by something resembling biological rust. Entering it, they saw their own mummified bodies in the cabins, with dates of death marked for 6 months hence. Mil-Lai ran, but Valim remained, reading the ship's logs. They took the artifact too. They thought they could control it too. Sora, however, vanished. They found her in the engine room, holding the object to her chest. "It showed me what we are," she whispered. "Errors. Faulty copies." Her eyes shone with the same bluish light as the anomaly. Mil-Lai tried to argue, but the commander interrupted. "You don't understand. None of this is real. Not even us." Valim, suspicious, checked the medical records and discovered that everyone on board had identical DNA, like clones. The artifact realized Mil-Lai wasn't an artifact, she was a mold. Something that replicated, not recorded. The shadowy figure appeared one last time, as they were about to abandon the cloned ship. "You choose," it said, extending 2 doors, one leading to the original Vortis, the other to emptiness. Sora chose emptiness without hesitation. Mil-Lai followed, while Valim remained, shouting that it was suicide. What they found beyond the door wasn't space, but a frozen ocean with translucent creatures swimming beneath the surface. Sora dove without a suit, and Mil-Lai saw her dissolve into particles of light. Alone, she walked to an island where a metal tree grew, its roots intertwined with human skulls. On each, a name etched: hers, Valim's, Sora's, and birth dates that hadn't yet arrived. Mil-Lai knelt before the tree, touching a pulsating root like a vein. The skulls whispered, their voices overlapping in a chorus. "Remember." Fragments of memories that weren't hers flooded her mind: a childhood on Mars, a lost love on Jupiter, a death that hadn't yet happened. The tree trembled, and one of the roots split, revealing a brilliant core identical to the artifact. It was then she understood: the archive didn't hold stories, it created them. Entire civilizations were sketches in an infinite notebook, and they, the crew of the Vortis, were just another draft. Valim appeared behind her, but his face oscillated between familiar and strange. "You must choose," he said, his voice echoing as if from afar. "Let the mold continue, or break it." Mil-Lai looked at the core and saw within it all possible versions of herself: a mother on Saturn, a fugitive on Pluto, a corpse in space. Each one cried out in silence. Sora appeared reflected in the core's surface, now part of it, her body made of code and light. "There is no right answer," she whispered. "Only what you are willing to lose." The frozen ocean began to melt, and the translucent creatures emerged, forming a spiral around the island. Mil-Lai felt time crumble, past, present, and future colliding. She saw Valim in 3 places at once: on the cloned ship, on the original Vortis, and right in front of her. "We are experiments," he said, extending a hand that dissolved into pixels. "They test variables, Mil-Lai. Love, fear, sacrifice. Which is strongest?" The metal tree groaned, leaning over her. One of the roots wrapped around her arm, burning like ice. Alien memories flooded her: the shadowy figure creating worlds with a gesture, civilizations destroyed by curiosity, archivists turned to dust for trying to escape. The core pulsed stronger, demanding a decision. Mill Lai closed her eyes, remembering the logbook on the cloned ship, dates of death written before births. If she destroyed the core, she would erase all her versions, but if she kept it, she would condemn unknown futures. Sora appeared one last time, her face serene. "You have already decided," she said, touching the core. "From the beginning." Mill Lai only understood when she felt her own body dissolving, her particles mixing with the ocean. Her last thought was one of relief. There would be no more choices. Years later, on an Earth that wasn't hers, a woman identical to Mill Lai awoke in a sweat, with a ringing in her ears. Beside her, a man with silver hair slept, a black artifact on the bedside table. She touched the object, feeling the same shiver as their first encounter. Through the window, the stars blinked in Morse code, repeating, "Welcome to the archive."